Welcome to the Hobby School podcast, and this is the perfect place to discover new adventures. We will bring you exciting new episodes that explore all sorts of hobbies and interests, from painting and woodworking to hiking and gardening. We cover it all. Whether you're a seasoned hobbyist or just getting started, Hobby School is the perfect place to learn something new. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. And my special guests today are Jillian Reece and Jordan Truster. They are the co-founders of Loveleigh Loops. And Jillian and Jordan, they are twin sisters, and they took a calligraphy class when they were only 11 years old. And as adults, they relearned the skill for each of their weddings, then soon started teaching local calligraphy workshops. They fell in love with teaching and discovered the possibilities of teaching virtually, and soon created their first online course in 2017. Since then, over 40,000 students from 149 countries have learned with them, and they are more excited than ever to be leaders in the movement to take back the lost art of beautiful writing. And today I am super excited to welcome them, and we're going to be talking about the art of calligraphy, why and how to get started. And Jillian and Jordan, before we get into all the questions that I have for you, because I'm actually new to this, so I don't really know a lot about this. I know what it looks like, and that's about it. So before we get into all the questions I have about you, why don't you take a second and tell the good audience just a little bit more about you, your company, and how you help people?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here. We don't often do podcast interviews, so this is great. We're excited to talk to your audience. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jillian, and then Jordan is the other one. We're going to kind of alternate answering questions so that you can tell who's who. But yeah, so we help people learn calligraphy. We teach calligraphy online courses covering all different styles, all different levels, from beginner to experienced and advanced. Our students have gone on to do some amazing things, which I'm sure we'll talk about today. But really our goal with what we do is to help anyone who's even has like the slightest interest in learning calligraphy to be able to believe and know that they can do it and they can learn it. You just need a little bit of help.
So thank you for that. And like I said, I am completely new to this. I know what it looks like, and that's about it. So before we kind of get into some of the meat and grit of all of this, can you tell us what is calligraphy and why someone might want to learn it? I have some ideas in my mind, but I'm very curious to hear what you have to say.
Yes, this is Jordan speaking now. So calligraphy, that just means beautiful writing. And many people want to learn it, first of all, because it's just a very relaxing, creative hobby, but it's also practical. So you can use the skill of beautiful writing to make gifts for friends and family, to address envelopes. People always love receiving calligraphy envelopes. Usually they hang it up on the refrigerator. It's also really impressive. So you might, so when we first started posting on social media, people were super impressed just seeing the skill, because it's a skill that not many people have. And then once you get good at it, you can actually go on to make money with it. Lots of our students have gone on to sell their work at craft shows. They've created Etsy shops, make custom orders. One of our most successful students, Sophie, she actually does luxury and event calligraphy, and her work was actually shown on TV. And then another student, Amanda, teaches calligraphy workshops. So there's so many reasons to learn it. Most people get started just for the passion and the hobby and doing something creative. And then, of course, like one of the ways that I use it is making a last minute thank you card for someone. I haven't bought a greeting card from a store in years.
So, when I was thinking about this, I was like, you know what? I'd love to use it for like my Christmas cards, or putting together a special birthday card for somebody, or thank you cards like what you mentioned there. But I didn't even realize that people were making money by doing this. So that's very interesting to me. So we definitely want to circle back to that. But the other question I have for you is, when somebody's thinking about, getting started in this and learning about this, what are some misconceptions that they have about it? How easy is it? Is it I'm thinking that this is going to be very difficult for somebody like me who's older, and I haven't, I haven't even cursive. I don't really use that anymore. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned cursive because that's actually one of the common questions people have when they start to get interested in calligraphy is like, is it the same as cursive? It's not. We can talk about that in a little bit. It's not the same as cursive, so you don't need to worry about like having that as a prerequisite or anything. You don't need to have good handwriting. So you mentioned before, you can kind of picture what you think calligraphy is in your mind, and there are lots of different styles and like lots of different hands or scripts that you can learn. So everyone listening here probably has like a different picture in their head of what calligraphy looks like. But so that's one thing you kind of need to narrow down when you do want to learn calligraphy is what style or what hand you want to learn. And we can help with that. We'll talk at the end about a workshop we're doing. But yeah, you definitely don't need to have good handwriting, and it's really not like super difficult to learn. Jordan, what do you think about like, do you need to be artistic or?
Yeah, that's another, people think that they have to be super artistic. The way we approach calligraphy, and I actually studied engineering, and Jillian also is very analytical, and neither of us really consider ourselves to be like super creative or artistic. Like, I can't draw to save my life, but calligraphy is different in that it's built up by basic strokes that are just simple shapes. Like, if you can draw an oval and a U shape, then you can make the letter A in calligraphy. And that's how we like to approach it and make it super simple for someone wanting to learn and break it down. And like Jillian said, it doesn't really take that long to learn. Like, we have students that transform from never picking up a pen before to creating very, very impressive calligraphy in as little as a couple weeks, like 6 weeks.
So I'm glad you mentioned that you don't have to be good at cursive, because I can tell you my cursive writing is atrocious. I don't know what I was learning, years ago when they actually taught cursive in school. I know a lot of schools don't even teach it anymore. So that is good to know. And I also am glad to hear that you don't have to be particularly creative, because I'm probably a little bit more analytical like you guys. So that's also good to know. So let's say that somebody is interested in getting started. What materials would you suggest that they start with?
Yes, so that's a great question. A lot of people who want to get started want to like go out and buy a calligraphy kit. I would say the first thing you should know is the type of calligraphy you want to learn. So we have like tons of guides on our website because it is, pretty visual to figure out what style. But for example, if you wanted to learn a broad edge script, then you would need to buy a broad edge pen. If you wanted to learn a pointed pen script, you need to learn that buy that type of pen. But the cool thing is you can actually start doing calligraphy right now with any pen that you have. It's called faux calligraphy. And this is actually where we recommend beginners start is just grabbing any pen and lined paper that they have. And then you can create the look of calligraphy with just like a regular ballpoint pen by adding shades to certain parts of the letters. So that's, I think, the coolest thing about this hobby is like, unlike other hobbies, like you can't just start, I don't know, knitting if you don't have yarn, but for calligraphy, you probably already have in your drawer something that you could use to get started.
So that's good to know. So most of us are going to have those, maybe even the paper and the pens at home sitting on our desk right now where we could go ahead and get started. So let's say that somebody is completely new. Where do you suggest that they begin? What are the first steps that they should start with?
The first steps that we always recommend in our courses is to learn the basic strokes of the script that you're learning. Like I mentioned before, it's just very simple shapes that make up the letters. And once you get the confidence with those shapes, then it becomes so much easier to write the letters. But once you start learning calligraphy, there's just like, you can get really good pretty quick, but then it opens up a whole world of different techniques and different styles. And we've been doing this for years, but there's still so much more to learn. So it's really exciting, and being a beginner is a really, really great place to start. We are teaching a free workshop, and we'd love for you to join anyone that's listening as a really, really great first step to get into this world. And during the workshop, we're going to be doing some calligraphy together. So like Jillian said, you can just use any pen that you already have. You don't need anything fancy. We'll show you how to do it with a regular ballpoint pen on paper. We'll show you step by step how to create some cool techniques. And even if you have zero experience joining in, you'll walk away at the end of the workshop with some beautiful lettering. And this will be a great introduction to get you started with calligraphy.
And we will make sure that that link is in the show notes. And before we wrap it up here, any last minute tips for the listeners that you guys have?
I would say that if this is something you're even a little bit curious about learning, just give it a go. I know that like this year, specifically in 2024, I'm trying to do a lot less of just like thinking and deciding like, what do I want to do, and actually go for what I'm interested in. So it's a skill that like, if you don't like it, then that's fine. At least you gave it a try. But a lot of people have surprised themselves with how far they can go with calligraphy just by giving it a go. No one likes to be bad at something at the beginning, but I promise you, we can help you through it.
Yeah, and it's because it's so easy to get started with it, like just a pen and a paper. It's also a great screen-free activity. A lot of people have been telling us lately, like they want to do something that's not scrolling on their phone, not sitting on their computer. And this is a great way to kind of detach from that and do something physical with your hands.
And I know a lot of people in our audience, going back to what you mentioned before, a lot of people in our audience love trying out new things and new hobbies, but they also want to monetize them if they can, if they're interested in it. And some people are. And you know, and what you said earlier, there's people that are making money from doing this, something so very simple out there. So we'll make sure that that link is in the show notes. If this is something you want to try out, I encourage you to sign up for their free workshop. And Jillian and Jordan, can you let people know where they can find you?
Yes. So our website, loveleighloops.com, has tons of in-depth guides and articles that you can find on all sorts of calligraphy related topics. We also post regularly on YouTube, and our like featured homepage YouTube video is about the basic strokes, which we mentioned before. So you can look for Loveleigh Loops on YouTube. And then the best place would always be joining our email list so that you can get our email newsletters and resources. If you end up signing up for our free workshop that's happening, then you will be added to our email list. So we are so excited to get to know you. And thank you so much for having us on this podcast. This was great.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. And like I said, I will make sure that all of those links are in the show notes so they can sign up for your free workshop, and they can go to your website and your YouTube and your Instagram account. So thank you, ladies, for joining me. And I'm looking forward to your workshop.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening today. Don't forget to sign up for the waitlist so you'll be the first to know when our next free HobbyScool online learning summit launches. The link is in the show notes for this episode, or you can go to hobbyschool.com, and that's HobbyScool with school without an H in it. Talk soon.